1, 2, 3, 8. Talker Tuesday, 9 to noon. Paul Allen, Maxwell Fuller producing.
Hardcore football.
Out of the gate with Jordan Reid. Good morning. Joining us now, indeed, is Jordan Reid, the preeminent NFL draft analyst this side of Corey Chavis. So please follow him via Twitter at Jordan_Reid. What's your schedule like these days with ESPN, Mr. Jordan?
Oh, man, busy. I don't know if that's the best word to use for it. I don't know if there's a greater word for being busier than busy. But being busy is a good thing. That's what my dad always told me. But it's always a good thing to be in the middle of the draft swing, and I'm excited. This is the best time of the year. It's like Christmas for me.
So what does busy entail for you? ESPN TV all day, ESPN radio, like the insider piece. What do you got to do today?
Yeah, so pro days. I've had pro days over the past 2 weeks now. So I was at Georgia, South Carolina last week. I have Alabama tomorrow, and then next week I have LSU in North Carolina. So very, very busy for me, along with radio, podcasts, and, of course, TV stuff, Sports Center, and then all those other things that you see on TV every single day.
And he made time for us. You're the best, man. God bless you. Thanks for the time. North Carolina Pro Day around the corner. That, Kwesi got the Minnesota Vikings 23 to go with 11. So North Carolina Pro Day, could be some Drake May speculation in there. What with 11 now and 23 for the purple, Jordan? What's the read? Pardon the pun.
It's going to be really interesting, PA. But what I love about the move for Kwesi and the Vikings is that he gave himself some insurance, just in case he isn't able to trade up. So what I mean by that is, let's say they can't get to 3, 4, even 5. He may be fine with staying at 11 and 23 and taking somebody like a Michael Penix or a Bo Nix, and let's say they can't get up to 3, 4, or 5 to select J.J. McCarthy or even Drake May. If either one of those guys end up falling to that pick, now he's going to be fine with taking one of those second-tier quarterbacks at 11 or 23. So it gave them some flexibility, which is something that we hear Kwesi talk about all the time.
And you mentioned LSU Pro Day on the horizon for you. You know, with Jordan, with the right to change the opinion right around the draft, is Jaden Daniels absolutely a top 3 selection in the upcoming draft?
Yeah, I would be surprised if he got past number 3, whether it's someone else picking at 3 or even if it's the Patriots selecting that number 3. I just think the combination of just his athleticism, what he showed last year, the upside, and then just how he fits the modern day prototype of an NFL quarterback from a stylistic standpoint, there's just a lot of excitement about him right now. I
was very happy at the Indianapolis Scouting Combine when we chatted on or off the radio that without me picking your brain and your mindset is elite when it comes to football in the NFL draft, that we were in lockstep on Illinois defensive tackle Jerzon Newton. Now, you mentioned the word excitement. There's not a lot of excitement about Newton because the quarterbacks and Marvin Harrison Jr. have pretty much just like overwhelmed the thought with this draft, right?
Yeah, well, just concerning Newton, we just haven't seen him in a while, PA, and that's what I think it is. We've seen Byron Murphy at the Combine. We've seen some of these other interior defenders that you hear about in this draft class, but we haven't seen Newton play since the season finale for Illinois. So he hasn't been able to build up some of the momentum, whether it was a postseason All-Star game or in the Combine, to where we could get excited about him. And then you hear about him having the surgery for a Jones fracture that he suffered in January. He played throughout the season, but he got the surgery in January. So the last time that we've seen him is in the season finale, so he's kind of being forgotten about right now. And like I said, he's my favorite interior defender in this entire draft class, but we just haven't seen him in a long time.
Is Drake May absolutely top 3 with a right to change the opinion?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Drake. He actually is my second-ranked quarterback in this draft class, and I like him over Jaden just because, yes, Jaden was amazing last year, but I think if you're able to put some surrounding pieces around Drake, I think you're going to see some of those inconsistencies kind of go away with him. And you have to remember, with Drake, he didn't get his best receiver until midway through the season last year, Tez Walker, that I'm talking about with the NCAA stuff that was going on with him. So what happened with Drake is that he was pressing and he created a lot of bad habits. So what you hear a lot with Drake is that he had very bad footwork. It was very inconsistent with his accuracy. But I think it's more so of him developing bad habits, trying to overcome some of those poor surroundings that he had. So what I think Kwesi and KOC could be thinking is, what happens if we put him in between Brian O'Neill, Christian Darrisaw, and we surround him with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and eventually a TJ Hawkinson with an improved running game? Now what type of player are we going to be talking about? He's going to be much improved. And we have a person that he's familiar with in Josh McCown from his days as a high school quarterback. So if I had to guess right now, I think Drake May would be that. If they go for the big swing or the swing for the fences and try to trade up to number 3 with New England, I think Drake May would be their guy.
And at ESPN.com, under NFL and draft, you can see Jordan Reid's top 5-ish rankings for positions. I looked at that yesterday. A bunch of excellent information there, including a lot of stuff from Jordan Reid at Jordan_REID if you'd like to follow. Now, with this move, this Texans move, this 11-23, Jordan, would you guess the Vikings already know the team with whom they will trade up from 11 potentially and the player they want to draft?
So here's what I really think happened, PA, and I don't have any inside intel. This is just my personal opinion. I think Kwesi kind of pulled out some feelers at the combine to see what it would take to trade up. And he knew the current draft capital that he had at the combine was not enough, speaking of when they had 11 and 42 at the time. So what he did was, he got intel at the combine, and then he came back with that feedback, and now he understood the ammo that it would take to trade up to potentially 3, 4, even 5 of what he needed. So I think that's what he was thinking. So now he gives himself a better package and more ammo than the Giants at 6 or, the Raiders at 13 or even the Broncos at 12, to where he can position himself with 2 first-round picks and potentially another one in 2025. Now he has more ammo than some of those other teams have that are inside of those top 13 picks that may attempt to trade up.
Right, which means the Arizona Cardinals at 4, I think are just so pivotal in this thing. Now, let's begin here with, assuming this is still the case, Jordan, but why do you have receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. as your top-rated player in the entire draft?
I just think Marvin's so elite, PA, and I think a testament of how good or how elite of a prospect he is he withstood subpar quarterback play last year at Ohio State. And it's no secret, they weren't very good at quarterback last year, but he still put up prolific numbers. Everybody in the stadium knew who was going to get the ball on Ohio State's offense. It was number 18, and he still was able to produce. It's just that 6'4", 205 pounds, he has unique movement skills. He has really good hands, outstanding hand-eye coordination. He's a fantastic route runner. I just don't see any way how his game doesn't translate into eventually being a top 10 type of receiver very early on into his career.
So Arizona just has to take him, right?
Well, you never say have to, just because if somebody comes with a ridiculous offer, what you're always going to do what's best for your football team. I don't think there's ever going to be one prospect that just makes you say no to a Godfather-like package, that I call it, just because you always want to do what's best for your football team. But if I were Arizona, it would be really hard for me to trade off of Marvin. And I love Odunze and Neighbors, who I have as my 2nd and 3rd ranked receiver in this class. But I just think Marvin is in a tier of his own when we're talking about this receiver class.
All right, so I mentioned the pivotal spot. The Cardinals have it 4, Jordan Reid. Well, how about this, man? And I'm sure you know this, you're elite, but they have 4 and 27 and 6 picks in the top 90. So follow me here. Maybe they swap 4 for 11 and 23. So then they would have 4 of the first 35 selections and 7 in the top 90. I mean, that sounds good enough to eat if you're a Cardinals fan. And the trade obviously would be with the Vikings. I wonder if they'd be interested.
I think they would. And this is part of the fascinations, I think, in the intrigue why Kwesi wanted to get 2 first-round picks, just because you go to Monty Ossenfort, the GM of the Cardinals. Now you're talking about even more ammo to build up the roster, just because the Cardinals, they're still in a rebuild stage of their roster. And we've seen the first year under Monty Ossenfort, he likes to trade up, and then he also likes to trade back as well. He likes to move around the draft quite a bit. So just gauging what he's done in years past, he probably would be one of my first calls to see if I could get up to 4. And then, of course, if New England tells you no, then you pivot to whatever else it is that you want to do after that. But I think the Vikings now, of all the teams inside of the top 13 picks that are quarterback needy or in search of a quarterback, now them having those 2 first-round picks, it makes them much more intriguing to these other teams at 3, 4, and 5.
If Jim Harbaugh really thinks J.J. McCarthy is the best quarterback in the draft, any chance they ponder trading Justin Herbert and that long, fat cash deal?
I just don't see it just because of the contract that
right.
Herbert just signed and the dead money that is attached to it. I just don't see a way how they can move off of Herbert. And, I mean, Herbert's really good. I just don't see a reason to trade a known commodity that has shown really high-end quarterback play for a player that you have no idea how good he's going to be on the next level. I just don't see any way they would trade Herbert from a financial standpoint, and then the way he has looked so far up to this point in his career.
Last couple, JR, thanks for the time. This is a should and a will. Should McCarthy be a top 10 pick, and will McCarthy be a top 10 pick?
Should he be? No, not in my opinion. Will he be? Yes.
Right.
Just because of what I like to call the thrill of the unknown with NFL coaches, just because they feel as if they have the secret ingredients to help a player uncover those next layers of their development. And if you look at the totality of J.J. McCarthy's draft portfolio, he's 21 years old. He's won at every single level that you can think of at the highest level. And then also in 28 career starts that he's had at Michigan, he's only had 12 of those of where he's had 25 or more career passing attempts in those games. So what that tells me is that a lot of times with Michigan, they had an interim head coach last year, so they were just trying to get through games. And whatever it is they had to do, the recipe or the formula it took to win those games, that's what they were going to do. And sometimes that involved J.J. McCarthy turning around and handing the ball off to Blake Corum and some of those other running backs that they do have. And that's not a knock against J.J. I see that used against him a lot. We don't know what he's going to be on the next level, but there's going to be some team that falls for the thrill of the unknown with JJ and feel as if they can mold him into what they want him to be on the next level just because of those lack of opportunities that he showed at Michigan. But when they did ask him to pass, BA, he was very efficient. He's really efficient off of play action. He's very good on third down. So there's going to be some teams that feel as if they can uncover those next levels or those next stages of his development. And finally, I promise with our chat right in front of the draft, it will not be all quarterback centric, but off that 11 and 23, man. I mean, that's where I and many in this fan base are casting the gaze, and I think you are too. Now, and any interest in the Vikings trading back a smidge from 23 or maybe at 23 for Michael Penix, and how would the Southpaw fit in Kevin O'Connell's offense? This is exactly what I was talking about early on of where it gave Kwesi flexibility. So let's say you take a Byron Murphy of the second of Texas interior defender from Texas at 11. Now you open yourself up to taking Michael Penix at 23. And if I had to guess right now, I think he's going to be there just because of the injury history and then the lack of mobility with Penix. But if you're talking about somebody I think who has the strongest arm of anybody in this draft class, Penix is really appealing. But what's going to make or break Penix's career is that you have to protect him. And if you think about his days at Washington, he had a really good setup at Washington. He had the best offensive line in the country, in my opinion, from a pass protection standpoint. He had a plethora of weapons on the perimeter. So you look at that and you translate that to Minnesota, he's going to have a really good setup as far as the tackles. The interior is still a work in progress with Minnesota. But as far as the tackle duo, I think it's one of the best young groups in the country, in the NFL. Receivers, he has two really good ones, a really good tight end. But now with Penix, you're going to have to be able to protect him, which Minnesota is going to be able to do. But as far as the translation in KOC's offense, I think he translates really well just because you have to have vertical stretch in your passing game with Penix. Right. He is a little bit stiff as a thrower. So what you notice about him is that he doesn't use his lower half a lot, but the ball comes out with a lot of velocity with him. He's a really good deep thrower. Now, he does need to improve from a short to intermediate passing game standpoint, and then over the middle of the field, he has some things to work on. But if you're talking about bringing the deep passing game to the forefront with Penix, I think he's a really good fit in KOC's offense. Are you in any way sweating these North Carolina Tar Heels in the NCAA tournament the way our friend Gabe Henderson is? Yeah, I definitely am. And they play good down the backstretch of the year. It was disappointing to see them lose in the ACC title game against NC State, but I think they needed that wake-up call during that big win streak they had. So it's better to go ahead and get it out the way now, that one loss, as opposed to now having it happen in the tournament.
That was fun. Greatly appreciate you. Let's stay in touch, okay?
Thanks as always, PA.
Yep. See you about Jordan Reid, ESPN draft analyst at Jordan_Reid via the X machine. And that and what's coming up 9 to noon provided by TimberTech and TimberTech.com. What's on deck includes some Patriots intel around the corner from scribe Chad Graff. And later in the radio show, Kevin Lynch with Valley Sports North. He was in Utah with the Minnesota Timberwolves, so he was front and center for the Anthony Edwards posterizing of John Collins last evening. And Kevin will stop by the 651 Carpets Plus studios to discuss that and the game and get us ready for the champs, the Nuggets, in town this evening. Maxwell Fuller produces 9 to noon today, and I'm Paul Allen. Good morning. It's 9:16. Back in a flash.
Want to chime in on what's happening with your favorite KFAN program? Make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryan text line. Let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard message and data rate support.
Chad Graff covers the New England Patriots for The Athletic, formerly covered the Vikings and the Minnesota Wild for The Athletic and the Pioneer Press. And here he is. Chad, Paul Allen, how have you been? That's my bad right there. What's going on, Chad? How you been?
Doing well. How about you?
My man, good to hear from you. Thank you very much for helping the radio show. And the reason for the call is you tweeted Friday after the Vikings acquired the 23 spot in the upcoming draft. Quote, the trade possibility I keep thinking about, Minnesota offers 11 and 23 this year, plus next year's first round pick for number 3. What do the Patriots say? That might be enough to move them from their plan of a quarterback at number 3. Whoa, do you have steam with that, or were you just like spitballing and speculating?
No, so this is kind of the opposite, where this Patriots regime is very different from the last one that was super buttoned up and wouldn't tell you a thing.
Yeah.
This Patriots regime is telling anybody who will listen, hey, we're happy with these quarterbacks. We've got the number 3 pick. We like this. We're going to take one of these quarterbacks, and we're going to be just fine. So that is their plan that they are signaling to anybody who will listen. However, and this is why I tweeted it and why I keep thinking about it, is, you know, just like everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth, the Patriots might very well have a good plan for the number 3 pick. And then if Kwesi Adofo-Mensah comes calling with an offer that they didn't expect, with some offer that knocks them, you know, knocks their socks off, all of a sudden, does that change things? And that's what I keep coming back to is, the Patriots roster is so different from the Vikings. The Vikings offense is set up to have a rookie quarterback come in and thrive. Awesome receiver duo, awesome offensive tackle duo, really good tight end, really good running back. The Patriots have none of that. They've got arguably the league's worst wide receivers. They don't have a left tackle. Their running back and tight ends are fine. So they don't have the same advantages that the Vikings would have. And so that kind of trade makes a ton of sense. And now I think it becomes, when you're talking about issues this big, almost an ownership question of, Robert Kraft, you're 82 years old. You want to win right now. That's part of why the team is leaning toward quarterback. But if the Vikings come calling with something crazy, is that enough to, you know, have you switch your plan a little bit?
So, I mean, do you give this much of a chance, or it's not a 0 and it's not a 10? But nevertheless, would it be closer to a 1 or a 9 that there's actually a chance here?
It's probably around a 3. I mean, the Patriots really want to jumpstart this rebuild. They initially were hoping that this was not going to be a several-year thing. They thought they were going to get Calvin Ridley and upgrade their wide receivers right away in free agency and then drop in Jaden Daniels or Drake May. And so they thought this was going to go quick. The reason that I think this is more of a 3-4 rather than a 1 is they kind of struck out in free agency. They didn't get the players that they wanted. And so maybe that, coupled with the Vikings making a trade offer that they weren't expecting, maybe all of that leads to a change in plan. Now, if you asked me 3 weeks ago, I would have said, hey, it's a 1. The Patriots are keeping the pick. They want the quarterback. Now that things haven't really gone the way that they hoped, and now that the Vikings have 2 first-round picks, all of a sudden I think that chance does go up. I think, we all think that the Vikings are going to start making some calls to move up, and it's just a matter of whether they look in that 5 to 9 range for that quarterback, or whether they're going to try to take that big swing and go for a Jaden Daniels, Drake May type.
Chad Graff covers the New England Patriots, writes about football at Chad Graff via Twitter, or as the kids call it, X, at Chad Graff via Twitter. Now, when Belichick was the coach and running the entire thing, I don't recall New England being a hot destination for free agents in the first place. But you mentioned that left tackle situation. Were they in on Tyron Smith and got beat maybe by a division rival, the Jets?
Well, here's the problem for them is that it's not exactly a hot destination. Unlike the NFLPA survey, where the Vikings ranked number 1 last year and number 2 this year, the Patriots ranked almost toward the bottom, kind of by Arizona and Washington. Hey. The facilities aren't great. It's 45 minutes from Boston, so it's not like you're enjoying the fun nightlife and great restaurants there either. The weather is cold and you're playing outdoors. So it never really had a ton going for it, but it still got people because it was Tom Brady. And if you signed a 3-year deal, you were pretty much guaranteed to at least go to a Super Bowl. Now all of that is gone. And so people like Tyron Smith and Calvin Ridley were not all that interested. And basically the Patriots were going to have to blow all of the other offers out of the water to get free agents. And they're just not willing to do that, at least not right now. So that's kind of the hole and the tricky spot that the Patriots are in. You either have to massively overpay for free agents right now, or you're going to have a complete home run, just crush this draft, which is sort of TBD. It's now being led by Elliott Wolf, Ron Wolf's son, who, NFC North people are quite familiar with. So we'll see how that goes, but everything hinges on this draft for the Patriots.
I don't know, man. Maybe de facto GM Elliott Wolf holds disdain for his former team, the Packers, and wants to help Minnesota here, and we'll slide into that 3 spot for 11-23 in next year's first rounder.
Well, I'm curious, Pierre, out of your perspective, is that a trade that you would be interested in? Would you want, if Kevin O'Connell says, hey, I have a ton of confidence in Jaden Daniels, Drake May, whoever that is, my perspective is great. Go get him. Is that kind of where you're at, or what do you think?
Yes. Yeah, I would do it for May 1st and Daniel 2nd. But if they don't, there are myriad holes to fill. And I like the flexibility Kwesi Adofo-Mensah created with that 11 and that 23. But to answer your question, if that was a possibility to get Drake May first, Jaden Daniels being 1A here, yes. Yeah, I would do that. Now, O'Connell and Gerard Mayo came into the league together with the Patriots in 2008. Maybe they know each other well and have a little side deal going here, Mr. Chad Graff.
That's right. They do know each other well. Kevin O'Connell joked that, back in their brief stint sharing a locker room together, the two of them plus Matthew Slater would joke around about who was going to get into coaching first. Turns out Matthew Slater's career lasted longer than the other two, so he's going to be the slowest starter. But Gerard Mayo's now getting the shot, and, it's both a super intriguing head coaching job because it is the New England Patriots, and yet he's got the biggest hole, the biggest shoes that you could possibly try to fill, being the guy after Bill Belichick. So they do have some ties. I'm kind of hoping that if I can see them at the owners' meeting next week, I can start dropping some hints about potentially doing joint practices in Minnesota in training camp. So I can come back there, but that's what I'm looking for.
And you mentioned Matthew Slater. Now, I got a chance to meet him a couple of weeks ago. I take part in an event in Minnesota called A Rise with the Guys. It's in about a month. It's April 20th, arisewiththeguys.com. It's at a place called Grace Church in Eden Prairie. And Matthew Slater, along with David Tyree and CJ Ham, are going to take part in our, quote, special, end quote, theme. And so I got a chance to meet Matthew. I mean, you've worked with him. What a kind human being he is.
Unbelievable. Top 99th percentile, not just of football, but pro sports in general. A guy that has so much respect from coaching staff and players, and the way that he handled his business, the son of a Hall of Famer, off the field, on the field, couldn't be a better guy. And another reason why the Patriots are kind of going in a new direction. He's retiring, and he was the lifeblood of the locker room. Even Tom Brady would look up to him in their meetings together. So the Patriots are just, they have needs everywhere from, off the field stuff like leadership as well as on the field in terms of pretty much every position on offense, which is why I personally think getting 3 first-round picks would be a big help for them. And yet I could also see Robert Kraft saying, hey, I'm not getting any younger. Let's get this quarterback and try to win.
KJ Osborne, you're going to love him. Got a little lost in the mix here. Several seasons, 2020, non-existent. But then after that, he'd win a game at Charlotte on a walk-off in overtime, and then you wouldn't hear from him for like 3, 4, 5 games. He got lost in the mix with Jefferson, Addison, and Hawkinson. I adore him. He's a wonderful, wonderful guy. Quality receiver. What did you think of the move?
Yeah, YA, your guy, young Alec, was raving about him when I was talking to Alec last week, just trying to figure out what the Vikings or what the Patriots were going to do. I think it makes a ton of sense, and I'm excited to see what KJ Osborne does with this. This is his best opportunity. As I mentioned, the Patriots wide receiver room is not great. There's a chance that KJ Osborne is their number 1 receiver. So he's going to get a chance to have a bunch of targets. Granted, he's probably going to be playing with a rookie quarterback or Jacoby Brissett, so it's not going to be what he had opposite Addison and Jefferson and with Kirk Cousins throwing him the ball. But he is going to be kind of the number 1 or number 2 guy. So KJ Osborne's going to get a big, big chance in New England. And everybody I've talked to around him just has nothing but incredible things to say about him.
Last one, brother. You're fantastic. Off that miserable 2023 and Belichick leaving, how are Boston sports fans handling the current state of the Pats?
Not great. I think one bad year was tough enough for them, and now all of a sudden, with these free agent strikeouts, they're realizing, like, oh my God, we could be like all of these other teams in a quarterback carousel and bad for a couple of years. All these teams in our divisions that we made fun of for 2 decades, like, that's what we're about to become. This is terrifying. So they're not handling it great. Then, there's this Apple TV documentary that just came out about the Patriots called The Dynasty that sheds light on how bad things had gotten between Belichick and Brady. So it's not exactly great times here to be a Patriots fan, and I think everybody is just going to happily reflect on that 20-year stretch if next year ends up going the way that it looks like it's going to go.
Good job. Good job with that Patriots mock draft 2.0. Quarterback Drake May at number 3, then a lot of offensive help. You can read that at The Athletic or theathletic.com, and it's on the Patriots page, written by Chad Graff. Thank you very much, Chad. Have a good day.
Thanks so much. Miss you guys.
Yep. Appreciate you, man. Chad Graff covers the Pats for The Athletic. All right. Around the corner, let's set up some texts and some talkbacks for a Tuesday, a Talker Tuesday, talking back and texting more than people know scenario. It'll involve the conversation over the previous 2 segments because we haven't, at least I haven't, or 9 to noon has not heard much from fans since that ballyhoo deal Friday right in front of the Friday football feast. Houston gives we get 23 plus we have 11. It's been a whirlwind. So we'll set that whole thing up, pay off the talkbacks and the text messaging about 40 minutes from now. And I'm Paul Allen. You're listening to The Love Covenant at KFAN. Hey. Damn. First time I've heard one of these weak tracks mix in a flute.
I know, right?
Hold on. 3, E.
Oh. They're kind of getting down on this one.
Yeah, they're trying. They're trying to get sneaky and steal Whip Appeal by Bobby Edmonds, Babyface, but it's not getting done. Ooh, weak track flute. 3, 2, 9 to noon. right, man.
This is like when you were riding around with your parents as a kid, and you're like, "Can we get some McDonald's?" And like, "We got McDonald's at home," and it's Hamburger Helper. This is the Hamburger Helper of funk music.
If you even want to qualify this as funk music.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Bootsy Collins is not blushing. Isaac Hayes is not blushing. George Clinton is not blushing. But as people over say, it is what it is. And we welcome you back to 9 to noon at FM 100.3 KFAN. This 64686, Bradshaw and Bryant, KFAN text line. I mean, the texts are on fire. We don't need no Maxwell. Let them burn. Hello, my name is Maxie. I only did that for 18 seconds. And I'm 64686 talkbacks. Let's go here. All right. Man, these texts, holy cow, this is consuming. Where are we here?
Oh, my God, they're rolling in.
Yeah, I know. It's football, man. Football always wins. Seems to me the Patriots and Vikings have a secret deal. Osborne signs $4 million, which was minimum, to get a compensatory third. They get $11.23 in our third rounder next year, and we get pick 3 and maybe a fourth rounder. Gives us 3 fourth-round picks, which we can use to get back to third and maybe late second.
Can you repeat the part of this stuff where you said all about the things?
Next one. Sign Sean Mannion.
As good as you are on that show and everything, every time you make those type of predictions, I run right to the bank and go the other way.
Next one. What's up with the Darisaw contract? What do I look like, Rob Brzezinski?
Oh, my God! How could he do that?
Ooh. Adam, formerly of Woodbury, now Fort Worth, listening now. We have all of Adam's albums. He was the one playing the flute for Weak Track Productions. And Adam of Woodbury fame, now of Fort Worth. Paul, what if the Vikings trade up to 4? Okay. What if the Vikings trade up to 4? That'd be Arizona. Then trade 4 to the Patriots. The Patriots can draft Marvin Harrison Jr. We got our quarterback. Hey. Okay. All right. Well, here we are in this big old empty world, staring each other down. And let's set up some texts and some talkbacks. Now, Maxwell is in Maxwell Fuller. What is the best way to find 9 to noon via the talkback machine?
You can send in a talkback on the free iHeart Radio app. Just download it if you don't have it already. You're missing out. You can get all of your favorite fan content right there at your fingertips. Touch that microphone. You got 30 seconds. Give us your best 30 seconds. We're not going to judge you for only lasting 30.
And we're
I always love that one.
Why, Father? Why? Seriously, why? All right, 3-2. Did you happen to see the biggest boss of all big bosses ever to big bosses in the building today?
I did not see that.
Man's name is Kevin Legret. He's here from he's the head of sports programming for iHeartMedia. All right, and he's here today. So I got a chance to meet him last year. He facilitated Jeff Van Gundy joining 9 to noon.
Oh, dang.
So I'm meeting the big boss of all big bosses ever to big boss, chatting with him a little bit, and then now I see him again today. And he said, "Hello, how are you?" And knowing you were producing the show today, of course, I always have your back. So he's like, "Paul, how you been?" "Pretty good." And a little bit of awkward silence there. And I'm like, "How much do you make a year?"
I always love that one.
He's like, "What?" I go, "Yeah, with bonuses."
I always love that one.
"How much do you make a year?" And he wouldn't tell me. Now, Greg Alexander, the big boss here, was like, I'm like, "Bro, you wore a suit coat for the first time in 3 years. All right, just let me finish the sentence." You see, I got young Maxwell producing the radio show today. My man doesn't have a car.
I always love that one.
So, I mean, I don't know how much you guys are making here, but can somebody slide 7 the way of Maxwell so he can get a car?
I always love that one.
Let a brother hold something. I'll pay it back.
Oh, you're holding something.
I always love
It
that
ain't
one.
a steering wheel. So anyway, no, I didn't really ask him that, but I wanted to. Now, regarding about Friday, all right, about everything that transpired Friday. I mean, right in front of the 9 to noon radio show, what happened? They gave us what? We gave them what? Who, what, where, when, and why? Hey, and so it was just a whirlwind on Friday. Then the weekend hit, and that was cool. And then we had Kwesi yesterday, and that was cool. And Kwesi at TCOPC, we Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. Kwesi early in the interview was like, yes, there is a preferred situation the Minnesota Vikings have with this 11-23 piece. Of course there is. But like Chad Graff, the scribe for The Athletic who covers the New England Patriots, he's like, it's all fun and games and everybody's got their plan set and everything until they get punched in the face.
I always love that one.
And I'm like, yep, I get it. So the A topic on this texting and talking back more than people know Tuesday is yours truly has not heard from you being the listener. Just like Adam, formerly of Woodbury, now of Fort Worth, coming up with a nice little 3-team trade bit, which involves the Arizona Redbirds. And by the way, with those Arizona Cardinals, I didn't realize this until yesterday, the Cardinals, holy cow. I mean, they have picks 4 and 27 in the first round. Cool. They have 6 picks in the top 90. How the hell do you end up with 6 picks in the top 90? That's badass. So if dem birds decide to swap with the Minnesota Vikings like they did with Josh Dobbs middle of the season last year, maybe they swap 4 for 11 and 23. So then I'd be like, think about this. You get 11 and 23. And now you have 4 of the first 35 selections in a super deep draft and 7 in the top 90, and it sounds good enough to eat.
I always love that one.
Maybe they'll be like, yeah. Maybe they'll be like, bleep you. We like our spot. We like that Ohio State receiver. Yeah, we're cool. So maybe they won't trade, but everybody has a price. Everybody has a price, even if they say they don't. So what's everybody think? We haven't heard from you since the Ballyhoo deal with Houston went down Friday Football Feast Friday. Been a whirlwind, hasn't it? What does everybody think? So let's chew on a few things and y'all can opine. Everybody can craft or opine takes and talkers and talkbacks and texting. And we're going to pay that off 30 minutes from now, we promise. Now, the general manager, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. So let's unpack, not necessarily from the baseline and like ascend, but let's spitball some ideas for when you get that 64686 ready and you figure out how to use the talkback feature via the free iHeartRadio app. Is it hard? Don't you just find a microphone or something?
Yeah, there's a microphone icon. You tap on it, and then you get 30 seconds.
Okay, and then and we will do our best. We will play some back on the radio. Hopefully, we play yours. That's in the hands and or ears and or heart of young Maxwell, who will be sifting through them. Free iHeartRadio app. Talk back now. The GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. The 2022 draft wasn't great. 2022 draft wasn't great at this stage. Lost belief of some fans. Now, Kwesi hired Kevin O'Connell. So they won 13 their first year. Situation improved. 2023, with the draft, free agency, in-season move for Dobbs, 4 quarterbacks trick, etc. 7 wins, and nobody in their building was happy about that. So it just nobody was happy. No, nobody's happy winning 7 games. I started this in January where I still haven't heard it, but just being around facility or facilities or people within the Shield covenant, and a lot of them talk the same way. It's, you know how it goes. It's got to hit on. I mean, this last time we're going to be picking around 11 for X amount of years. Yeah. we ain't going to be picking around the top 10 ever again. So, let's just figure this thing out and then make it good. So off last year, again, the letting Dalvin and Kendricks walk, and they have nondescript seasons. All right. If you're checking boxes, which I don't do, like player for player, move for move, pick for pick, if you're checking boxes, Kwesi and staff letting Dalvin and Kendricks walk, then they have nondescript seasons. Okay, that worked out. So now we get to the now. And Kwesi continues to tinker with a roster getting younger. The man never flinched during extremely intense situations with Cousins. All right. And, I hit him yesterday with do you think Atlanta tampered? And how far did they go? And he didn't go down that road. And then I'm like, yeah, he said, I haven't watched the press conference or listened to Cousins' press conference. And I'm like, oh, you mean the one that took place 3 hours after free agency started? Yeah, I'm sure it got all the contract stuff together in 3 hours.
I always love that one.
Big smile on the face of Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. So that it's not a 100%er here. It's not like maybe it is, but I have no idea if it is the chief mandate, the chief edict, the root of attack when Kwesi Adofo-Mensah was hired was to get the roster younger and get the team and the salary situation in a position where you can roll with like Jonah Williams, the defensive tackle from the Rams. That's the latest. Trent Sherfield. All right. Jonathan Grenard. You restructure Harry, Blake Cashman, Andrew Van Ginkel, go crazy. Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is on our team. That's going to hit me like a metaphorical ton of bricks one day, and I'm going to be like, damn, Aaron Jones is on our team. That's sweet. So Kwesi's obviously part of all that, but the tinkering with the roster and not flinching during extremely intense Cousins scenarios, that's part of the job, man. And then he swings the trade with the Texans and says there's a preferred scenario they have.
Oh my gosh.
What's the preferred scenario? Now, the team finally has money to sign a bunch of cool players. The job-defining moment. All right? So the team finally has money to sign a bunch of cool players. The job-defining moment seems to be on the horizon with the drafting of a rookie quarterback. That can and generally is a job-defining moment for somebody in that spot, because to whom much is given, much is expected. The control and the calm with which he has navigated this offseason has been quite impressive. The what's next is massive. Question. If they absolutely are trading up for a quarterback, why sign Darnold? All right, now, these are questions. These are not questions sounding like opinions where, like, I'm taking a side here because I'm not. Just trying to get this talk back in the 64686 going for that 1017. If they absolutely are trading up for a quarterback or taking a quarterback in the first round, why sign Darnold? Couldn't Mullins, with a full offseason as a potential starter, hold down things? The answer to that, I believe, in their estimation, has to be no. Or they don't house Darnold. All right? Any shot. I mean, these are spitballing questions for the 64686 and the talkback bit on a Talkback Tuesday. Any shot. The Minnesota Vikings are not paying Justin Jefferson and want to angle their way to Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh my gosh.
Long shot, but something on which to chew. Maybe the 11 is for show and the 23 is for dough. Non-quarterback at or around 11 and the quarterback at or around 23. Max thinks that sounds good enough to eat. Now, don't kill the messenger here, okay? What we're doing is circling the mental wagons around scenarios because we never, ever, 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 ever make trades like this and almost never absolutely, positively need a first-round quarterback. I mean, almost never. So hit that talk back for the 1017 on all of this, or how about this? Get goofy. 11 and 23 and whatever for whom. 64686 for the texting, free iHeartRadio app on the microphone, and Max's musings, Max's meanderings. We'll sift through them, and we will drop some in about 30 minutes from now. 11 and 23 and whatever for whom and why. Who do you like and why? Which quarterback do you love and why? Which non-quarterback do you love and why? Has this Vikings offseason in any way surprised any of you? Like, how have you handled signing? There's been a signing basically every 12 hours. And does it invigorate the spirit for next season, the 2024? We're going to be chatting Texans football, including thoughts from their Vox, Mark Vandermeer, on a couple of former Texans, Jonathan Grenard and Blake Cashman. Chat a little Danielle Hunter and some of these rookie quarterbacks coming up about 5 minutes from now, maybe 8. And then we are going to unfurl the talkbacks and the texts after that into the right around the second half of the radio show, 1017. Wrap that thing around to 1042. Get into Max's version of News du Nord. We call them Max's meanderings. And then at 11 o'clock. Anybody see that, Anthony? You got any of those highlights like at your fingertip right now?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and hit one.
Keel reached in on Keontae George and turned him over. It's another Keontae George turnover. And goes up for the dunk, and Thunder slams it in traffic over John Collins. And Ant may have hurt his left hand. He comes right to the bench. That was sick. He took off, launching himself to the iron.
We're coming.
Damn, with that, I mean, John Collins got a concussion from the dunk and didn't return.
I mean, how often do you see someone that dunks so hard that they get hurt and then the person they dunked on gets hurt?
See, now if Ant's questionable into each game with I don't know, a shoulder, just some dip, and then he always plays. All right, he's a gamer. Now, I don't expect him to come up questionable for tonight's game against Denver, like questionable finger. All right, I swear, man, is like if you sit there and stare at the individual you just posterized. I mean, he dunked every O out of Provo.
I always love that one.
And John Collins was hurting. And you know how it is. Ant wanted to stare at him a little bit. The only way to get in that extra 4 seconds of staring, pretend your finger hurts.
I always love that.
Because we couldn't hear what he was saying. He was looking at his finger out of one eye and looking at John Collins out of the other, kind of going, hey. And John's like, my head hurts.
I always love that one.
Kevin Lynch, Bally Sports North, in Salt Lake City, doing sideline television work for Bally's last night, and in studio 9 to noon, about an hour from now. We'll be right back with the Texans Vox to chat about a couple of our new former Texans. It's 9 to noon.